welcome to News Now. The Nigerian government has confirmed that 21 of the over 200 Chibok school girls who were kidnapped by Boko Haram have been released by the sect Thursday morning. A spokesperson for President Muhammadu Buhari, Garba Shehu, confirmed the release, saying it is the outcome of government's ongoing negotiation with the sect. He said the release was brokered by the International Red Cross and the Swiss government, adding that negotiations will continue. Shehu also said through several tweets that the president welcomed the release of the girls, but cautioned Nigerians to be mindful of the fact that more than 30,000 fellow citizens were killed via terrorism. The girls will be handed over to the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo later, and their names will also be released. Meanwhile, the presidency said the Department of State Services had briefed it on the release of the girls, while more details will be made known later. This is the second time the president has been able to secure the release of some of the girls since he assumed office in 2015. In May 2016, authorities said one of the missing Chibok girls was found, and President Muhammadu Buhari vowed to rescue the rest. Last month, the president also revealed he is ready to dialogue with the terrorist sect with the intervention of United Nations representatives over the release of the girls by their captors. Now, Nigeria's Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, has also confirmed the release of some of the Chibok girls. Now, speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the minister said the girls were freed at about 5:30 a.m. on Thursday and were immediately flown to Kaduna in northwest Nigeria. He said the release was not a swap deal and that no Boko Haram prisoner was exchanged for the girls. According to him, the DSS were supported by the Army and the Air Force to achieve the feat.
We can confirm that 21 of these girls were released safely to us by 5:30 this morning, Thursday the 13th of October. And they were flown to Kaduna from the location of their release. This is the most glaring manifestation to date of the unwavering commitment of Mr. President to secure the safe release of the girls and reunite them with their families. It is also a result of the round-the-clock efforts by the administration to put a closure to the sad issue of the kidnap of these girls. We expect the released girls to land in Abuja shortly. Ahead of their arrival, we have assembled a team of medical doctors, psychologists, social workers, and trauma experts to properly examine the girls, especially because they have been in captivity for so long. They will also be adequately debriefed. We have the list of the girls, but we are now contacting their parents as part of the necessary verification exercise. As soon as that is concluded, we will release the names to the public. Gentlemen, as we've always said, we've been working on the safe release of the girls and following all the leads available since. In this instance, the moment we had a credible lead, Mr. President gave the green light to the DSS to pursue it. We can confirm that the DSS pursued the lead in collaboration with a friendly European country and a renowned international humanitarian organization. The DSS was supported by the Army and the Air Force in this project. As soon as necessary confidence was built on both sides, the parties agreed on the date and the location of the release of 21 girls. Please note that this is not a swap. It is a release, the product of painstaking negotiations and trust on both sides. We see this as a credible first step in the eventual release of all the Chibok girls in captivity. It is also a major step in confidence building between us as a government and the Boko Haram leadership on the issue of the Chibok girls. We want to thank all Nigerians for their support and for never losing confidence in the ability of Mr. President to secure the safe release of our Chibok girls.
Now, still on the Chibok girls release, the Bring Back Our Girls group has commended the Nigerian government for its rescue of 21 of the over 200 Chibok girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. The group in a statement on Thursday said it welcomes the development but asked the government to intensify its effort to rescue the remaining girls. The group also thanked members of the Multinational Joint Task Force, the civilian JTF and the International Committee of the Red Cross, the Swiss government and all negotiators involved in securing the release of the girls. Meanwhile, the leader of the group, Obi Ezekwesili, the former Minister of Education, also expressed her joy at the rescue of the girls. In a tweet, Ezekwesili said she could only cry and weep after learning of the freedom of 21 of the girls. She also expressed gratitude to God and thanked both President Muhammadu Buhari and the gallant Nigerian security forces for their efforts in ensuring the safe release of these girls. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the bomb blast which killed 8 people and injured 15 others in Maiduguri, Borno State, northeast Nigeria. Reacting via his Twitter handle, the president said he was disheartened by the news and condoled with the victims of the blast. The suicide bomber reportedly was in a cab when she detonated the IED, killing herself and other occupants on Wednesday. Now, according to the police public relations officer in Borno State, Victor Isuku, the ill-fated cab was about joining the convoy of hundreds of vehicles to be escorted by security operatives to the border town of Gambarungala when the explosion occurred. The attack comes 3 months after the Nigerian army reopened the road, which was closed down for about 3 years due to the activities of the insurgents in the area. President Buhari also ordered the Nigerian military to strengthen its campaign against the insurgents so it could prevent such attacks in the near future. The Nigerian Senate has inaugurated a committee to probe the alleged diversion of funds meant for internally displaced persons in Nigeria's northeast region. The committee will also investigate alleged diversion of grains and other food items from the Strategic Grains Reserve, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and other sources for the IDPs. Members of the ad hoc committee also to investigate the alleged diversions. Members of the ad hoc committee, of course, Sheikh Husani, Yaya Abdullahi, Theodore Oji, Ben Bruce, Oluremi Tinubu, Tayo Alasho Adura, and Solomon Olamilekon, as well as Ali Wakili. The committee will work for 2 weeks, after which a public hearing will be convened. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria, otherwise known as the Shiite group, have said that at least 13 of its members were killed in various clashes across Nigeria. The group in a statement said the members were killed in clashes with the police and some hoodlums in Funtua, Sokoto and Kaduna. The incident occurred a day after a clampdown by security forces prevented the Shiites from embarking on their planned annual procession. The Shiite group was last Friday declared an unlawful society by the Kaduna state government. Now, according to the state government, the order was taking in the interest, or the order was actually taking, of course, in the interest of public safety and to guarantee the rights and freedom of all persons in the state. A meeting between present and former leaders of the Nigerian Bar Association and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami and some of his predecessors in the office is underway at the NBA House, Abuja. The meeting, which began on Thursday morning, is part of steps by the Judiciary to address issues arising from the arrest of judges over the weekend by the State Security Service. The SSS arrested 7 judges between Friday night and Saturday morning, sparking reactions from across the country. The EFCC has also said it is conducting a separate investigation on 8 other Nigerian judges and 2 court registrars. The name of the judges being investigated were, however, not disclosed. Meanwhile, the emergency meeting of the National Judicial Council, scheduled to discuss the arrest of judges, ended on Wednesday with members failing to reach a resolution. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has embarked on an official visit to Germany. A statement from the presidency said Buhari will be meeting with German Chancellor Angela Merkel to discuss issues bordering on security, situation of the IDPs and economic relations. Buhari is also scheduled to meet with the German President Joachim Gauck and the Nigerian community in Germany. He'll also participate in a business forum in Berlin with leading German companies already active in Nigeria and other prospective issues. The Senate on Thursday passed the amendment to the law establishing the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAMB. The law now extends the validity of the result obtained from the examination from 1 year to 3 years. The Senate says it adopted the recommendation that the examination should have a validity period of 3 years to reduce the financial burden on parents. It also resolved that the examination fees be reviewed downwards to 2,500 naira. We'll take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll be talking business.
The Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, WSCIJ, invites professional Nigerian journalists and team of journalists, full or part-time, with stories published between the 4th of October 2015 and the 3rd of October 2016 to submit entries for the 11th Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. Award categories include print, radio, television, photo, online, and editorial cartoon. Submission deadline Monday 24th October 2016 by 4 p.m. All entries to be submitted at the WSCIJ office, number 18A, Abiodun Shobanjo Street, off Latif Jakonde Road, Agidimbi, Ikeja, Lagos. For more information, please visit wscij.org or call 0908-251-5179. Investigative reporting is the vital force for the restoration of human dignity. Wole Soyinka.
Welcome back. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, has warned accounting officers in the country against complacency in the discharge of their duties. She was speaking at a workshop for senior government officials on cost management. Adeosun said the forum, will give the officials practical insights on how to cut costs. Another speaker at the event was the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Ikanem Oyo Ita.
I want to urge you as accounting officers, please don't just sign. When it comes to public money, yes is an answer, no is an answer, why is an answer, convince me is also a very valid answer. I urge you to become your own auditor. Be circumspect, be curious, in fact, be suspicious, because we will hold you accountable for everything that happens under your watch. So you must build the systems that give you comfort, because if anything goes wrong, we will ask you. You are the accounting officer. And so look for the warning signs. As a rule, be very uncomfortable with temporary files. Is there something in the main file that someone wants you not to see? Ask questions. Ask about new files, brand new files. Where is the old file? Ask questions. Treat public money as if it's your own money. Small losses and waste do add up, so we all need to play our part, and we need to be proactive. And if in doubt, please consult the efficiency unit. We are here to help you. Ask our team, we're here to support you. We give advice, we consult, and it's all free. So the resources are here. If you're not sure of what you're being asked to sign or being asked to approve, please ask. We're also targeting aggressive reductions in costs so that we can do more, as the head of service said, with the same funds. Increasing value for money, improving working place conditions, increasing efficiency, and reducing the cost of government, which is what the people want, whilst at the same time increasing the quality of service delivery to Nigeria. You are accountable for how public funds are spent, and we are building systems to ensure that everybody that's in charge of a public budget is held accountable. Eliminating waste is a national duty for every public officer. And as the President has told us, change begins with you and, of course, me.
The overall purpose of our gathering today is to improve the efficient use of government resources. This is in total consonance with the ethos of the service under my leadership to be efficient, productive, incorruptible, and citizen-centered. In this government of change of His Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, efficiency cannot be overemphasized, as we must be seen as producing the maximum possible outputs given the inputs, or that we are producing a certain level of outputs within the minimum amount of inputs or resources provided by government.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has said all banks in the country have a strong capital base to weather the current economic crisis. CBN's Director of Banking Supervision, Tokunbo Martins, also debunked a report by a Dubai-based international investment firm saying 7 Nigerian banks have serious capital adequacy ratio problem and would need to recapitalize. She said the report is false and should be discarded. Abiola Ismail has that report.
It was the 329th meeting of the Central Bank of Nigeria with heads of banks in the country. And this meeting is very crucial following a report by a Dubai-based international investment bank that 7 of the Nigerian banks are facing a serious cash crunch owing to size of their non-performing loans.
That report is false.
The report had also indicated that 2 of the banks could go into insolvency. But the CBN came forcefully after this to say the report is far from the true picture of the things in the country's banking industry.
They have very strong capital buffers. And I think I've said this thing repeatedly. Another thing that's important is that the banks have very huge capacity to generate income. So apart from the capital buffers that they already have, they also have capacity to generate income to also absorb those losses if they do arise. And then the loans are non-performing. Can they reperform? Yes, they will, because the underlying assets are still there and they are good.
The country dealing with serious shortage of forex, the bank chiefs resolved to implement the law which stipulates a maximum withdrawal of foreign exchange not exceeding $50,000 per annum and the injection of idle pension funds into the system to stimulate economic activities and boost services.
There was a rule that was put in place that people are not allowed to withdraw more than $50,000 across the industry on their Naira debit cards. Now, for a while now, people have been breaching that rule. The CBN hadn't taken any steps until now, but we have decided that it's now time for people, for us to take, to take steps to stop this. So we want members of the public to remember that that rule is in place. All your cards are linked to a particular BVN. Now that BVN is only allowed to withdraw $50,000. If people, a year per annum, if people continue to breach that rule, they will lose access to this money. In fact, they will lose access to the foreign exchange market entirely.
So we discussed how to improve supply of foreign exchange to our manufacturers, the lifeblood of this country, of our economy, so that they can continue to produce, so that they don't lay off, so they can also achieve, good cost, a good level of costing for the products that you and I all use. So it was a very fruitful meeting. We came to some decisions that we are confident will help this critical sector, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria.
The possibility of interfacing with the pension industry. We have had conversations in the past about how the country will leverage the huge resources that reside in the pension industry.
The meeting also resolved to release more forex to the manufacturing sector to save it.
The CBN has also denied reports of a planned massive retrenchment in the banking sector. The CBN says it had met with the various banks in Nigeria who say they have no plans to retrench their staff.
You must have been hearing a lot about impending retrenchments in the banking industry. So we've received, so many complaints, people expressing fears about this and all that. We discussed it among the banks, and the banks have committed to not retrenching, and they never had such plans. So whatever rumors have been flying around about there's mass retrenchment, that's happening or going to happen is not true. That one we confirmed today.
Now, it's not just the CBN that has been reacting to the report of the Dubai-based international investment firm that the Nigerian banking industry is facing severe cash crunch. The report also said a number of the banks have serious capital adequacy ratio problem. Now, all the 7 banks mentioned in the report have debunked it, saying it is not true and that they remain strong and meeting their obligations to their customers. Now, TV360 spoke to the chief financial officer of one of the 7 banks, Sterling Bank. Abubakar Suleiman says the bank does not have any challenge at all with its capital adequacy ratio and its fundamentals remain strong.
The starting point is to understand that the Nigerian banking system today still maintains 27.5% cash reserve requirement and a 30% liquidity ratio. So in terms of liquidity, the Nigerian banking system is actually exceptionally liquid. As proof of that, the central bank has used the open market operation in the past couple of months to mop up significant liquidity from the system. That has not been a source of pressure for the banks. I'm aware that a Dubai-based firm had released a report that suggested that the Nigerian banks would need to raise additional capital. But I think the report is not well informed, and I say that with all sense of responsibility. If you look at Nigerian banking system, the capital adequacy requirement or the ratio requirement for Nigerian bank is almost twice what is required in other jurisdictions. So international bank, for example, have to have 15% capital adequacy ratio plus 1. And in addition to that, they are also required to have 2% general loan loss provision. So in terms of adequacy of capital, that is more than twice the 8% that similar banks in many jurisdictions will have. Banks that operate within Nigeria, for example, are required to have 10%. If you consider the fact that in addition to that, they have to maintain another 2% general loan loss provision, even the minimum requirement alone is already in excess of 12%. Similar sized bank in other jurisdictions will have between 5 to 8% capital adequacy ratio. So the suggestion that Nigerian banks are under capital pressure to the extent that they would need to raise capital urgently is not true. What is true, however, is that as a result of the growth in loan book arising from the devaluation of the currency, the adequacy ratio, which was closer to 20%, is now in the mid-teens. So we now have capital adequacy ratio from between 11 to 16, 17% range. This is still very robust. And we must take this in the context of the fact that Nigerian banks have now implemented Basel II and some element of Basel III. So really, they don't require to have such high ratios. We would expect that their regulatory ratio should actually be tending down towards what is available in other jurisdictions. I think we are operating in an economic environment where we have seen 2 quarters of slowdown in growth. Effectively, we're in a recession. And so to that extent, 2016 is a difficult year for all operators in Nigeria. We don't expect profitability to be at the same level as 2015. But the banks are still profitable. They are not yet in losses. We have seen non-performing loan inch up a bit, but to a large extent, it is still within the sort of levels that we anticipated. And I speak not just for my bank, but for the Nigerian banking system. I think that we have weathered a storm, and we weathered it very well. Late last year, the federal government implemented the Treasury Single Account. This has been followed by a couple of other states in an attempt to improve transparency in government financing. That led to the withdrawal of about 3 trillion naira from the banking system. And this was paid without any difficulty by the banks. The banks were able to pay this and continue to move on with the businesses. In addition to that, we also saw a first half of the year where the budget came in quite late. We've also seen the government revenue across board, both federal and state, fall significantly from previous level. This all has impact on the economy, but I think the banks have weathered it quite well. The analysts that are on ground and the rating agencies that are on ground will not share in that report. Their perspective on the Nigerian economy and Nigerian banking system are a lot more optimistic than what you have referred to.
Now, oil prices fell on Thursday after OPEC said its production had risen to the highest level in 8 years. Brent crude futures were trading at $51 per barrel, while U.S. crude was down 42 cents to $49.76 per barrel. OPEC on Wednesday reported its oil production climbed in September to the highest in at least 8 years and raised its forecast for 2017. Now, 2017 non-OPEC supply growth, pointing to a larger surplus next year despite the group's proposal to cut output. Thailand's King Bhumibol Adulyadej, the world's longest reigning monarch, has died after 7 years as head of state. The 88-year-old king was widely revered but had been in poor health in recent years, making few public appearances. He was widely revered in Thailand and was seen as a stabilizing figure in the country, which has been hit by cycles of political turmoil and multiple coups. Crown Prince Maha will be the new monarch. Now, the Prime Minister has confirmed that. U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump is facing a series of allegations of inappropriate sexual contact after U.S. media reported claims from several women. 2 women told the New York Times that the Republican presidential candidate sexually harassed them, while a People magazine reporter also said she was forcibly kissed. Trump's campaign have, however, rejected the claims and threatened legal action against the newspapers. His camp made public a letter calling the articles defamatory and a politically motivated effort to defeat Trump's candidacy. To sports now, Super Eagles coach, Gennett Rowe has tipped the Nigerian female national team, the Super Falcons, to win the 2016 African Women Cup of Nations. The Falcons are in Group B alongside Ghana, Mali and debutants Kenya. The tournament will hold in Cameroon from November 19 to December 3, 2016. Rowe says the unity in the Falcon squad will see them win the title for a record 10th time. Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja, has been selected to host the 2016 edition of the GLOCAF Awards on January 7, 2017. Now, this will be the 3rd time the city will host the awards after it hosted the event in 2005 and 2015. Gabon's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the current African Footballer of the Year, while Cameroon's Gail Nganomuk holds the women's title. Controversial boxer Tyson Fury has vacated his WBO and WBA World Heavyweight titles to deal with his medical treatment and recovery. The 28-year-old, who has also admitted taking cocaine to deal with depression, has also had his boxing license now suspended by the British Boxing Board of Controls. He has not fought since beating Vladimir Klitschko in November 2015 and has twice withdrawn from rematches. Well, that's it. News now for now. We thank you very much for watching. Continue to stay tuned to TV360.